Both New Zealand and Australia have storms in the northwest worth monitoring. Hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks very much for joining us. There's a lot to talk about in our video today, but the weather at your place for the next couple of days may not be too bad. But as we go into the weekend and next week, there's certainly a couple of things to monitor. We'll kick off with actually where the weather is a little more interesting today, which is just near Brisbane. We've got this low offshore. It is slowly moving away from Australia over the next day or two. And on the other side, you've got a tropical cyclone that's also merging with another low. Two storms next to each other. That low is off the screen, but it's taking energy away from that cyclone. It was expected to get up to category 3 today. Instead, it dropped to 1 because the low off the screen took some of its energy away from it. That's likely to change in the next couple of days. You'll see that in the weather maps. And also this big high here, which is dominating New Zealand and also much of Australia, keeping conditions fairly dry. Let's take a look at the temperatures, the departure from normal today for New Zealand. As you can see, everybody pretty much leaning warmer than average. The only places that are about normal right along the coastal parts of Canterbury and the coastal areas around Bay of Plenty. You're pretty much about where you should be today. Let's take a look now at the weather forecast as we get into Thursday. Short week this week, like that. The high, moving away from New Zealand. It's centred right over the Chatham Islands, though, on Thursday. That low near Brisbane and Australia, pulling away further to the east, but a few showers do still move down towards about Sydney. They stop around about there. The cyclone, you can see the other low next to it, stealing its energy, keeping it a bit complicated in that area off the coast of Broome. As we get into Friday, this system up here is getting better organised, starting to deepen, and the main cyclone here pulling away from that other low. So this is still one to watch if you live over on that western side of Australia. But if you live in New Zealand, the focus is definitely on this Tasman Sea low that is moving towards us. Now, the North Island and eastern areas need more rain, but it looks like it's really going to be the west coast that gets the bulk of this system as it drops southwards. And we'll see that as we go into the weekend. So here is Saturday, and see what I mean. Both the northwestern sides of New Zealand and Australia impacted by these systems coming through. This one, the centre of this system actually down more towards the southwest corner of New Zealand on Saturday. And the cyclone over here getting deeper. It's actually absorbing, based on this model, this is the GFS model out of America we've chosen today, is showing that cyclone well absorbing the other systems. So that is still something to watch. The air pressure on this map, 950, as it brushes the coastline. In New Zealand, let's take a closer look at Saturday. Here is that system coming through. So it's a stormy one down to the 970s. So there'll be gales and heavy rain. There's a forecast at the moment for the west coast over the next 15 days that you'll get 300 millimetres or more up in the mountains. So there is a lot of rain coming for that western side. But if you're in the north or the east, only limited amounts of rain. 10 to 20 millimetres over that same period. We'll talk about that briefly at the end of the video because we do have a news story about it. Once we get to Sunday, that low moves quite quickly away from us, but there comes the next one. And over in Australia, the cyclone still offshore based on this model, high pressure right in the middle. Well, it's in the Great Australian Bight, but it's pushing back towards that system over there as we get into Sunday. And our final map is for Monday, and again, it's pretty what we call dynamic, lots going on. We've got a few lows up here, potentially a storm, although very small. It might not be there tomorrow, but there is a bit of activity surely connecting the tropics with this next new low in the New Zealand area. And this low drives more rain, again, western areas, but also Southland's likely to get some rain as that southerly comes in. Over in Perth, that's something you don't see too often. The remnants of a tropical cyclone pretty much right on the top of you. So that will be something to keep an eye on. That's Monday of next week. Before I go, we do have a news story about the rainfall accumulations right up until April 22nd in the New Zealand area. The story is all about how dry eastern areas are, and this is a good example of what I was just talking about. 200 to 300 millimetres on the west coast from 2 or 3 big lows coming in. Meanwhile, eastern areas, some of you might only get 10 millimetres over the next 2 weeks. So that is not much, and it's certainly not enough to reverse the dry conditions you've had, not only for the summer we've just had, but also the last year. That is all from me. More information at ruralweather.co.nz and also at weatherwatch.co.nz. We'll see you again tomorrow.